What is the worst thing your in-laws have done/said to you? Mine actually happened today. I, 23 female, moved in with my boyfriend, 25 male, and his family, because I have arthritis, and have to have hip surgery but can't get up and down the stairs at my old 3-story apartment. So a little information on the family. His parents have a lot of issues and often fight. His home life has always been like this, and that's why he left for the Air Force at 18. But we've been together for 2 years, and have had issues ourselves, i.e. him cheating by buying premium Snapchats, and flirting with an ex-coworker. We're currently working and improving our relationship, and I'm seeking therapy for a mood disorder and an eating disorder which played a big part in our issues as well. So in order to help him heal, I've taken the trouble of checking in on his family and his dad, 45 male, because his dad has been out of work since he hurt his back and cannot work anymore. He's been coming in and checking on me often because he knows we've been dealing with our own relationship issues and mental health. So I've noticed he started trying to linger in our room, and just talk, which I didn't pay any mind to because I understand he doesn't talk with anyone else really. Then, I noticed he would hug me, and sometimes kiss my shoulder to comfort me if I cried over the issues I faced. Update. This sounds wrong. What I tried to mean as I typed this out in a hectic rush, was he would tell me everything was okay, and insert some pep talk, said goodbye, and instead of kissing someone's cheek when you leave, he did the shoulder. I don't know, this never raised any red flags as I come from a big Polynesian family that does this in our culture. I never really thought much of it because I've never had a father figure in my life at all. And I've seen how he looks out for my boyfriend and his sisters who both leave here too. But then he would catch me in the hallway, and give me a hug, once, or just follow me and check up on me. Anyway, fast forward to today, he popped his head in to check on me, and I pretended to be asleep because I'm very introverted and he talks for hours. He left, I woke up, and he came to check on me again. Then asked, "Can I hang out?" Which struck me as weird because he's never asked. He then proceeded to lay down on the bed I was sitting in. I didn't think too much of it, because the previous day I had him try to lay on one of our Tempur-Pedic pillows to see if it helped his back. So it turns into an hour conversation, and he then moves to lay his head on my thigh. And hug it? I instantly froze and had fear run through my body. I've been molested before, and have a lot of issues due to it. I stayed still, not wanting any confrontation, so I awkward started playing with my cat that was behind him, and just going on my phone. He started to run his hand in my inner thigh and looked up at me. I just started rambling nervously about how he shouldn't talk badly about himself just because his wife said something bad. He went back to it, and started kissing my thigh and stomach and close too, you know. I had shorts on, and I'm frozen in fear. He then kept trying to lift my shorts, but thinking about it now, there's a built-in second layer inside and I think that's why he stopped. The whole time he was concealing a hard-on. He then apologized, and I can't remember exactly how the conversation went, but he then mumbled something like, "I know you've had issues with my son," and, I can't remember much of it, but I wanted to see if you would share 2 men. Then he did it again. I got him to leave, and I'm sure I'm missing a lot but I'm scared and frantic. I texted my boyfriend to see if he could come home now and he called asking if I was okay. I told him I just needed him home. He couldn't get off early so he said he will stay home tomorrow. I don't know what to do. I don't want to ruin their relationship, we don't have money to move out right now. So yeah. That's the worst thing, yet, my father-in-law has said to me. Worst thing ever done to me personally? Probably the time my father-in-law pooped on me. Literally took a dump, on me. Doesn't get much worse than that. There has got to be a story behind that. So before my husband and I were married, he talked me into going up to his family's cabin for the weekend. I knew his crazy alcoholic dad would be there but I went despite that. We get there pretty late at night, and his dad is passed out drunk. He wakes up, and starts drinking more. We all decide to go to sleep, father-in-law sleeping on the pull-out couch in the middle of the living room, husband sleeping in a chair to the right of his dad, me sleeping on a folding bed on the left. I'm about to fall asleep and I hear what I think is rain. I quickly realize my father-in-law is peeing on the wall. I pretend to be asleep and ignore it. Why make it more awkward? Well, then father-in-law takes all his clothes off. He's totally naked, stumbling around the room. I figure he's on his way to the bathroom. Until he sits on my bed and starts moaning and grabbing at me. By this time, my husband realizes what's going on and jumps up and dives across the room. He pushes his dad off of me, and that's when the smell hit me. My husband turns the light on, and we see it. Poop. Everywhere. All over me, on my back, on my arms, in my hair. Everywhere. We left the cabin immediately. I didn't even clean up. I was so horrified and upset, I just wanted to go home and shower. In the end, they had to burn the mattress and all the bedding I was on. There was that much poop. The night before my wedding, my father-in-law-to-be phoned me during my bachelor party to tell me that he couldn't allow me to marry his daughter until I agreed to stop trying to control her and manipulate her. Needless to say, this wasn't met with the greatest of grace on my part. Almost wrecked the wedding and wrecked the honeymoon when I told my new bride what I thought of her father. Things are better now, but I'm very careful around him. 9 years of marriage, almost all of it good. I have a crazy just no mother-in-law and there are literally enough stories to fill a book. I had my mother-in-law tell me to throw away my wife's birth control because she supposedly wanted kids but was afraid to tell me. She babysat our dog once for a few days. We came home and the dog was severely dehydrated because mother-in-law didn't have time to fill the water bowl. The best part is she has a dog of her own. Just no mother-in-law loves to tell the story of how she hosed down my sister-in-law in the garage in front of the school bus. She did it because sister-in-law didn't want to shower before school. This hosing involved her tearing half of her clothes off to view of 30 high school kids. I got plenty more. My mom is a ridiculously sweet woman. Kind and generous, she'll offer you anything she has the second she meets you. And if you're a guest in her home, she's immediately all over you with, "Where can I put your coat? Are you thirsty? I hear you like white wine so I bought 3 different types." So on and so forth. She is the most welcoming, warm, and genuine woman I know, and if I can be half the woman she is when I grow up, I'll be thankful. That being said, my sisters-in-law, I guess technically they're mine too, right? Threw a party for my sister's husband as he was preparing to go away to Afghanistan for the first time. She invited everyone, especially a lot of Nate's old friends and even an old ex-girlfriend. This woman likes to try and pry him away from my sister whom she's never felt was good enough. Having the long-term ex at the party while my sister is still struggling with dropping baby weight was a big thing to do. But what really frosted my onions, what fried my fries, what seared my steak was what she did to my mom. She'd originally invited my family to the going-away party. My mom was excited to go, excited to see her son-in-law off, excited to take care of the kids and be the doting grandmother she is. At the last second, the bee told my mother she didn't want her at the party. That it was for family only. My mom was really kinda crushed. It's funny how childish things like being disinvited to a party never stop hurting even when you're 50 plus. My mom. She's such a sweet lady. She didn't deserve that. Now wife. Mom, we just got engaged. Now mother-in-law. You should probably try and date the other guy. He seems nice. Also constantly griping that we don't spend every holiday with them instead of splitting time between both sides. This was several years ago. Long story short, I got a 360 and was done with the Wii for the time, so I gave it to my brother to borrow. A couple months go by and I ask for it back. Oops. Apparently his wife sold it in a garage sale for something like $15. That was mine. And she has sold a lot of things my family has given them. Another example. My mother bought them all new sheets, pillowcases, blankets, etc. Instead of just politely refusing the gift so my mom could return it and get money back, or exchange it, my sister-in-law just goes and sells it all for less than 10% its worth, and without even using any of it once. Now nobody gives them anything anymore. It's not the worst, but it's definitely cringy. I spent 1.5 years trying to get pregnant. About a year into it, my mother-in-law, my husband, his aunt and I went on a little staycation at a destination near us because it was my birthday and my mother-in-law's birthday that week. I arrived at the suite to find our room decorated with birthday stuff, which was really sweet, and a big sign on the bed saying, "Happy birthday. Now make me a grandchild." I was also introduced to my future sister-in-law's parents as, "This is my name, who's going to make me a grandbaby." This happened at a family dinner I attended while waiting to miscarry a non-viable pregnancy. I've also been on the receiving end of lots of uterine stares and significant eyebrow wiggles every time I turned down a glass of wine, which I wasn't allowed to have while trying to get pregnant. I warned her that if she kept it up she wouldn't know if I got pregnant until the kid was 18 years old. We decided to have a kid, and of course a big part of that decision was the financial ability to do so. We lived in my wife's granddad's house. He had passed away when she was 18 and left this house to my mother-in-law with the promise she would give it to my wife when she got older. We were lucky living there, having to only pay the property tax, which came out to about $300 a month. We were able to save a bunch and thought we were pretty set, so decided to have a child. 7 months into the pregnancy we find out my in-laws actually took a loan out using the house as collateral and were really far behind on the payments. Our options were to pay $2,300 a month for the loan or lose the house. We could not afford that and could not end up homeless with a newborn, so we were forced to move. Our savings disappeared fast. We had to make one payment on it just so we would have time to find a place, plus all that goes into finding a place with moving expenses, and all that then add on everything needed for a newborn. We went from being set to being broke, and now had to pay an extra $1,000 a month than we planned on for a home. It's been a rough couple of years, especially with a baby. Not exactly mine, but my husband's. We first started dating when he was stationed in a decently sized border town, my hometown, with a strong Latino culture. My family is not entirely traditional, but when it comes to love and dating they strongly abide by the old rules. After graduating from college and moving home for a bit, at 24 I had an 11 p.m. curfew, had to introduce all of my dates to my mother, and was expected to remain pure. My mom waited up for me every night and expected a breakdown of my activities of the night to make sure they stayed within her strict guidelines. We had been going out for a year when we lost track of time and he kept me out past midnight. I was sweating bullets the entire ride home because in Mexican-American culture, it does not matter how old you are, you still respect your parents and leave by their rules until you are settled with a husband of your own. When we arrived at my place it was lit up like a Christmas tree. Every single light in the house was on and visible from the street, mainly because all the curtains were pulled wide open. My mom ran up to the door and yelled at my future husband until he got out of the car. This 27-year-old man from Iowa was chewed and knew 1 and 2 languages for a solid hour. Loud enough for a large number of neighbors to gather outside on their lawns to watch the show. I was absolutely horrified, and absolutely sure this was the end of any romantic relationship I could possibly have with this man. To my surprise, he remained calm, apologized like this was not weird at all, and managed to calm my raging bull of a mother down enough to inspire her to invite him to dinner that Sunday to redeem himself. Over 5 years and a wedding have passed and she still tries to pull rank on him every once in a while. She still pulls all sorts of hell if he slips up and calls her by her first name instead of the formal Mrs. Blah Blah. He has dodged most of the bullets by learning more about our culture and learning Spanish. I am now the one yelled at. If you don't cook and clean more, that pinche gringo will leave you, mija. You need to get it together. Thanks, Mom. Thanks. I work overnights in a very demanding medical field. My sleep schedule has always been nocturnal, so this feels more natural to me than working days and brings my stress down. My husband is gone 5 days out of the week as a truck driver, and my days off are the same days he's home thanks to my seniority, and we are both night owls during this period. My mother-in-law recently passed away, so my father-in-law sold everything and moved to where we were and has been included in my family events. At Christmas, my brother pulled me aside to let me know that my father-in-law is telling anyone who will listen that I am lazy because I sleep all day. I work 12 to 24-hour shifts at my job during the days I am working. The only reason I get my days off to align with my husband is the seniority I have, and even then I often have to work when he's home. I've now noticed that, along with him calling me, I am starting to miss calls around 2 or 3 p.m. from family members who know I am home and are asking me to do things for them during the day. I am usually asleep by noon and have to be up for work around 8 or 9 p.m. I've sat these people down to explain that I am an overnight emergency worker and that I need my sleep. My husband sat my father-in-law down and explained to him what I do, how I need my sleep, and that he's being a jerk. My father-in-law maintains that a real job doesn't have overnights. I don't want to have to cut contact with him because we are the only family he has left. My husband stands behind me and says if I want to cut him out even just to let him have a time out, he's game. I also don't know how to address my whole family about this. My mom combats it as much as possible, but his way of thinking is starting to permeate them, too. Just know mother-in-law made our wedding a completely stressful, sad, and disappointing day. She completely ignored my family during the dress rehearsal and then made snide comments to them at the reception. She told the wedding florist that we had decided not to go with the flowers my wife wanted and picked the one she wanted instead. She told the wedding coordinator that we had scrapped several key elements to the ceremony, so they didn't happen. She stuck her tongue out, put bunny ears on my wife, and generally didn't cooperate for any of the wedding photos. She said no and kept talking to her table when I asked for everyone's attention to give a toast. She apparently had been bad-mouthing me to my wife's whole family for our entire relationship, and during the wedding weekend, she told them that I was controlling because I stood up to her when she tried to control my wife. She just went behind our backs and did what she wanted, anyway, so not that it mattered. She flat out just didn't do any of the things she volunteered to help with. She was rude to my guests who tried to introduce themselves to her. This all culminated in us having a screaming match the morning after my wedding. The rest of the family is scared of her. They talk about her behind her back and then suck up to her face to face. They sided with her at the moment, but then told us after that they agreed with us. My wife didn't speak to her family for about a year after and barely has a relationship with them now, especially her mom. I don't have a relationship with them at all. It sucks for them because we're pretty awesome to hang out with and they're missing out on a relationship with my amazing wife. Their loss.